When we communicate with people, we have to communicate with them based on their personality traits. It would be darling if people would reciprocate your personality trait. If you are reclusive, that they would allow you to be reclusive and give you the space that you deserve. If you are animated, that their stories would be more interesting and that they would be more interested in your stories. But that, I'm afraid, is not the case. And this is what makes communication a little bit of a challenge. There are 4 dominant personality types, which would mean they are on a spectrum. So you aren't the same personality trait as anybody else, even if you share particular elements of that trait. So the 4 of them are classified as drivers, influencers, stables, and compliance. So we have the acronym DISC. Now, the drivers are aggressive, they are driven, they are direct, but they're also domineering and demanding. And if you are communicating to a driver, you will know they're loud, they are very work focused, very bottom line focused. So you have to communicate with them like that. You have to be direct, you have to be bottom line focused. So don't faff around, get to the point, narrow the information and material that you are offering them, and be excited about business and accomplishments. And stop sulking, don't give excuses, don't show worry. You just have to be ultimately in control. And then drivers will relate to you because they are risk takers and nothing puts them down except you. Then we have the influencers. So these are more social people. They are outspoken, outgoing, and fast like the drivers, but they focus more on the social side. So while the drivers will be talking a lot in animated, forceful tones, they're talking about business. While the influencers are usually talking about the social side. And therefore, if you want to communicate with an influencer, then you need more storytelling, more animation, more out of the work topics, more fun-based topics, hobby-based topics, adventure-based topics, and most importantly, to listen and validate their topics and their whole outward display, whether it's their clothes, their nails, their hair, because they make an effort to look that exciting part, that interesting, make an effort to look like an interesting person. So when you look at them and you don't notice how interesting they are, it's a bit of a disappointment for them. So when communicating to the eyes, influencers, they are interesting, they are impulsive, they therefore will not just, they are inclusive, so they will not just sit next to you and not talk to you. And if you don't like that kind of behavior, then when it happens, you would have to move away or explain your own preferences, as opposed to getting annoyed that there is somebody next to you who can't stop talking. And those are more on the extroversion side, the D's and the I's. Then on the introversion side, again, we have those on the work introversion side and on the social introversion side. More to the social side are the stables, the sociables, but they're more on the introversion side, which means despite being very social, very friendly, very family oriented, they are a tad shy. So they only are ever so talkative with people they trust. Which means if you want to communicate to a stable or an S, then you need to earn their trust. You need to be more personal and you need to be slower in your communication, slower in giving them directions, more listening, no rush. They get overwhelmed by that rush and force and urgency and change. That will not communicate well to an S. It's more systematic, strategic, and then slowly reeling them in, lower tones for them, and really eye contact, a real, while the I is interested in whatever topics and whatever people, the S is, as a social person, interested in the real lives of real people, like their family, your family. So if you could strike a conversation on the lines of family and friends as your icebreaker, then you'd have a foot in the door in creating a open communication relationship with an S. Then we have the C's, the compliance. They want to be correct. They are calculating. They are cautious. They are conscientious. So now here, they would rather withdraw. They are energized by spending time by themselves. And this is where people find trouble communicating with the C's. Why aren't they eating with us? Why aren't they involved in this social event, the wedding, the funeral, the company party? Why aren't they coming for tea break or coffee or coming to the watering hole with us? Because they would rather be by themselves. They enjoy the space, they enjoy the silence, they enjoy that intense focus for a very long time on one thing. Which would mean if you are going to communicate with a C, then you better get very deep with your topics, very deep with your jokes, and in whatever they're interested in. So if it's politics, it has to be deep details, facts and figures. If it's religion, then be ready for an argument if you want one, or a very deep conversation on philosophy and the nuances on that particular topic. Even if it's golf or football, just be prepared to go a little bit deeper. So don't get offended by their very strong notions on any of these topics. They just don't do surface conversations. Everything is deep. Everything is a deep dive. So if you want to dive deep and be intense, then there are your C's. The other thing that about the C's is when they withdraw. So there's just no response coming in. There's just nothing. You know, the D's may give you the small responses like okay, or thumbs up, or yes, or no. Very direct, very short, and very blunt. But the C's maybe just complete silence. Even that is still a valid form of communication. And I tell you this just so that you don't get offended and feel like you are at a loss. It's their communication style. They are processors and they are analytical. So they do need time to process. Unfortunately, you could have said something that they need to process. So you just have to count your losses there if they never get back to you. Because remember, everything you say will be digested, will be considered with a fine-tooth comb. And so if you spoke your piece, then there we are. If you still need to discuss work, this is a bit of a challenge because they need the time out. So all you can do is give them some space. Don't keep hammering in the emails. Well, I need that by 2, I need that quickly. If you see you're not getting a response, then you just need to hold back for a bit, let them process, and they'll get back to you. To give you an idea of where these personalities fit in at work, You'd have the Ds as those managers, forceful, pushy, getting this done, ideas people, but they're always at the helm because they need to be right and they need to be heard and they need to get everybody moving. Part of being a D is being a doer. So people have Ds at the top, or Ds will place themselves at the top so that they can get things done. Your Is are more with the sales. They're very good with strangers. They can just hit a rapport with a complete stranger right out the door. So they'll be in sales, they'll be in marketing, advertising, they might be in entertainment, even politics, just because they're very, very good out there. And so if you work with Is, you'll notice they don't like being at their desk. They're always out there discovering and changing things quickly, changing things. So they need new stimulation. Then the S's are the more stable jobs. So they'll do admin, they'll do HR, they'll do those jobs that are brilliant for organizational history, record keeping, librarians, because they're stable and they actually get long service awards. So if you've got people who are calm, cool, collected, the quintessential, they are the quintessential calm, cool, collected secretaries, receptionists. You may have managers who are S's, but they will have a more subtle, soft approach to management. Any of these personalities can be in leadership. It will just be a different style of leadership and therefore different expectations. And that means if your leaders are either of these personalities, then there is stuff you just cannot expect from them. You're just barking up the wrong tree. There's things I's will never deliver to you as a leader. There's things C's will never deliver to you as a leader. They just don't have it to give to you. And that's why we go on Facebook and we say, why can't this person be this? Because they're not. And it's a consideration. And why is this person so fussy? Why is he so self-conceited? Because they're a D. That's what they do. They don't know any other way of being. Then you have the C's who'll be more in the intricate arts and sciences. So they'll do architecture, they'll do accounting, they'll do surgery. Only a C would have that meticulous concentration to be in a room for 8 hours doing one thing. So they'll do that. They'll do the proposals. You know, that fine print, that's the C's that write it and read it as well. So those lawyers who are very deep, but I have to say they are also artists who are C's, the intricate art, the intricate music, the intricate drumming, you know, that ear, that eye, that mind that is zeroes in to one point, expands on it or concentrates it. So that's your C. There, in a nutshell, that's how to communicate with different personalities. And in the following videos, we shall expound further and further, because what about when we are having issues with these personalities and we'd like to bridge the gap or end that relationship? Coming soon.